Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel on a late Saturday night post-match reaction to Newcastle United getting battered at Anfield. And I say battered, Liverpool weren't even that good, to be honest with you. Newcastle weren't that bad. It was just a really weird game of football. Last thing I needed. I'm full of cold. I'm sick as a chip. I'm trying not to swear too early in this one, but I will swear, I promise you, for all of you lovely people who love a swear. It's late on at night. It's past the watershed in the UK anyway, so fuck it. We've been in long enough. I think it's 40 seconds. I think I've just got past the guideline there anyway. But yeah, I did not need that game after the day. I've been nursing this, whatever this horrible scabby cold that my daughter infected me with for the last few days. It's really getting on my tits. And the last thing I needed was that performance in that game. It just really irritated me, but I'll get into that in a minute. Before I do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, smash subscribe, help get us to the next milestone, which would be 13,000. We're over 12,500. So we're heading there. So help get us to that point. So let's get stuck into this tonight then. And the lineup was just weird, to be honest with you. I know we've got City on Wednesday. We're 2-0 down from the first leg. A lot of people thought that Howe might have rang the changes for that game, but he rang the changes for this game. So yeah, a little bit of the Paris vibe in here with Willock and Ramsey starting the game. No centre forward though. Anthony Gordon was put up front again. Weird enough, I actually said on Sky just before the game, I was on there doing my little fan analysis thing, and I said that Gordon couldn't finish. Typical, you know what happened, but I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, a really weird lineup. Trippier came back in, but I didn't think that we did that bad really in the first half. I thought we really went at Liverpool. We silenced that Anfield crowd. We looked dangerous. Gordon looked up for it. He was popping up nice pockets of space. Howe was on the overlap. Barnes was looking dangerous. And we really looked like we were going to have a good go. Elanga was looking good as well in terms of defensively and offensively. Then we hit the post with a lovely free kick before we get the goal. So it's a lovely free kick. And I think Hall comes up and just kind of back heels it, smashes it off, smashes it back to Barnes, even so he smashes it off the bar post. Fucking hell, it's late and I'm ill. Bear with me, guys. Off the post. It was a lovely strike by Harvey Barnes and everything, but back in the net, really, unfortunately. So, we're kind of playing the best as we can with it, and then we get the breakthrough. It's a lovely little bit of play. We go on the break. It comes over to Barnes. He can't quite control it. It comes to Anthony Gordon, and for the first time I've seen Gordon in the Premier League, certainly for over a year, statistically, he shifts his feet really well. He drills it into the bottom corner past Alisson, and it's a great finish from Anthony Gordon. I love the little celebration as well, as you can see in the picture there, to the Anfield crowd. It was right at the Kop end. And yeah, I mean, he's been due a performance against Liverpool, and he started to do that today. There was a couple of scary moments where he pushes McAllister for no reason. And I've got to say, Alexis McAllister, I like him as a player, but what the fuck is he doing, man? He gets shoved in the chest, not even that hard, and he hands down holding his throat like he swallowed a fucking bowling ball and he can't breathe. I'm sick of these players trying to get other players sent off. Well, referees should grow a pair of nuts and send them off for unsporting behaviour. I mean, I actually think Simon Hooper didn't do that bad as the referee, to be fair today. I thought he managed the game quite well. Certainly when the Anfield crowd were on him and booing them and everything else, I thought he kept his kind of composure and integrity in the game. I thought he did really well. But true to form from Newcastle, we scored a goal. We then drop off, and then about 5 minutes later, it's Hugo Ekitike, who everybody was desperate to fill the shoes of Alexander Isak, who was actually sitting on the back benches of the Liverpool area. I'm surprised the fucking weasel went there, to be fair. And it's a lovely bit of play from Florian Wirtz. For me, he gets too much space. We massively missed Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton, I think, in that midfield. They're not that Ramsey or Tonali did bad. I think Bruno and Joe Linton's game management, Joe Linton's aggression today, I think he'd have won that midfield battle. I don't think Wirtz would have maybe had the space that he had. And I've just seen a comment there, Kiwi too, and yeah, I'm going to get to that. So Ekitike, lovely little bit of run. He's offside. He pulls back on side. It's great centre forward play, but Wirtz runs through. Knows exactly where Ekitike is. Sorry, lays it off to him. Little toe poker in the back of the net, and a 1-1. Then the camera pans to the Liverpool bench and pans to Alexander Isak, who they couldn't wait to look at, and he was smirking when the goal went in. He didn't look too happy later on though when Ekitike went off. But he looked a bit like fuck. Even if I'm fit, I'm not getting a game ahead of this kid. But the whole TV coverage I was watching, TNT Sports, was fucking horrendous. Really, they had Steven Gerrard and Steve McManaman as pundits. It was like watching Liverpool FC and Joe Cole, who played for Liverpool as well. So there was absolutely no Newcastle representation there, apart from Lindsay Hipgrave, bless her, who's the presenter. She can't start giving these lot shit about Newcastle. But it's 1-1, and you're thinking, okay, maybe getting a half time. We've played well this half, and you will maybe go in a half time, 1-1 and manage the game. But 2 minutes later, look what happens again. The ball goes over the top, and Malik Chow I thought he was good for the first half. He made some really good blocks, some intelligent blocks, some blocks where he uses pace to stop Liverpool getting in ahead. And then Ekitike just runs free. He's got the freedom of Anfield. Nobody's near him. And it was the one time in the game where I just felt that Chow hesitated slightly for a split second. And that just gave Ekitike that edge to whip the ball in. It's a great finish. And that 2-1 up. And they weren't very good, to be honest with you, Liverpool. They weren't great. I know it's mad hearing that because they beat us 4-1. And I think most sensible Liverpool fans would probably see they weren't that good either. But when you've got players like Wirtz who can turn it on like that, and when you've got players like Ekitike who can finish like that, then they're going to turn the game ahead. I mean, we didn't have a centre forward player. We had two on the bench. 120 million quid's worth of striker on the bench. I wonder if Eddie Howe will get asked that question. Probably not, because the press pack love him so much they don't ever want to ask him any difficult questions. But it's hard for me to be too harsh, excuse me, on Newcastle in that first half, because I thought that they did all right. I think the game plan was working quite well until a couple of bits of brilliance by Hugo Ekitike. They got Liverpool in front, and when they got in front, they never really looked like they were going to go back behind again, really, in all fairness. And we start the second half, no changes as per usual from Eddie Howe. I don't think we'll make any changes till about the 73rd minute there, looking at the substitutions on the screen. And by that point, we're 3-1 down, because Florian Wirtz gets through. Nobody tracks him, nobody follows the run. It's a lovely little finish in the bottom corner. 3-1, it's game over, and then Newcastle had moments to try and get back. Barnes had a nice effort that Alisson saved as well, but just nothing ever really looked like it was going to happen for us, and the substitutions came on. They tried, he put Voltemade in that withdrawn 10 role. He tried to get on the ball and do something. Visser just looked lost. He's so brain dead as a footballer. There was one time we were on the break, and he tried to flick it on, and Voltemade was miles away from him. You know what I mean? And I just thought, oh my God, just what you doing? Just hold the ball up or knock it out wide. I felt a bit sorry for Alanga, actually. I thought Alanga made some really good runs tonight, and they just didn't pick him up. There was so many times that he burst down that right when he was in his own half, and he had the pace to get past Kirkes. I think had a yellow card. I think I'm just looking through the yellow cards, and maybe he didn't. And there was so many times that Trippier just didn't slip him through. And I was like, "What are you doing, man? Just fucking knock it out of top for a lad. Just fucking let him get on his bike and go." And he might get somebody sent off or something, But just they totally ignored him. And I felt really sorry for him. And Alanga spent most of his time covering for Kieran Trippier's lack of legs, really, But I just thought, God, fucking. It was just miserable, really. And the fourth goal goes in, and it's a howler from Nick Pope. He comes out, he's fucking flapping it. I don't know what he's doing. Looks like he's waving to his father in the fucking other end of the pitch or something. And then it falls down to Canate, who pops it away to trickily shitty finish into the back of the net. The commentator, I mean, he was writing fucking, sonnets for every Liverpool player going, especially Hugo Ekitike. And I know Canate's been through some tough times and lost his dad, and I've got nothing but respect for him in that regard, and that's horrible to lose a parent. I've lost a parent myself, and it is awful. But this commentator went on and on and on and on and on about it. And he scored the goal, and fucking hell, you would have thought he had that on an acca or something, and you're just like, oh, fuck off, man. Just doing my head in, absolutely doing my head in. And I was sitting there watching it, thinking to myself, how the fuck are Newcastle losing this game 4-1? It's not a 4-1 game. Like, Newcastle haven't been that bad, and Liverpool haven't been that good. How is this 4-1? It was just, a bit of just a shitty game, really, you know, and it just annoyed us because, like I say, I'm ill. I've got fucking zero patience anyway, and I just didn't need to watch that shit. I hate Liverpool anyway, especially after the shit that went on in the summer. All the horrible Scousers. There's probably a couple of little skip rats in the comments now. I won't be reading their comments. Hopefully, Mods or Mark can flick them out before they irritate me any further. But yeah, just a really shit game, and we'll have to listen to the fucking waxing lyrically of the mainstream media, who love nothing more than seeing the resurgence of onslaught Liverpool, you know, beating a much changed Newcastle team 4-1 in a nothing game, really. Man of the match, I'm going to go for Lewis Hall. I thought Lewis Hall was absolutely magnificent tonight. Again, I thought he was up and down. I thought he nullified Salah really well. He attacked well. He whipped in some unbelievable crosses tonight as well. What worries me about Lewis Hall, right, is the other teams looking at him, Man City looking at him, Arsenal looking at him, Liverpool looking at him, maybe even a fucking Barca or Real Madrid looking at him, because he's such a good player and he's marking some of the best wingers out of the game. And, you know, if he goes to the World Cup with England, which he should do, and has a great World Cup, he'll announce himself on the global stage. And that worries me a little bit, because I know he's got a bit of a Newcastle connection with his family and that, because dad's a Geordie, I think. But it does worry me if we don't get Europe at the end of the season. And I've said that all along. I've said I don't think we'll get Champions League. We might get Europa League if we're lucky, if we can string a few things together. But I don't think we'll get the Champions League. And how Eddie Howe and how the board think that we can get through this window without adding bodies to this squad is unbelievable. Me and Mott are going to get into this on what's going on, because that's transfer deadline day as well. We're sitting 10th in the Premier League, and you've got likes of Nottingham Forest signing Daniel Fratesi from Inter Milan and Ortega from fucking Man City as a keeper, and we are doing absolutely nothing. And you think, what is going on there? Nottingham Forest in a relegation fight, and they're signing players, and we are doing absolutely nothing. You know, and you just think, what on earth is this about? And I've heard loads of people talk about PSR, but I've heard other people saying that there's headroom in this window, and I don't understand. And then you get Fulham offering you 20 million quid for Joe Willock, and we knock it back. But Joe Willock was all right tonight, to be fair. I'm not going to slag him off. I thought he did all right. Some nice attacking runs and movement. He's done nothing for 2 years. He scores a goal against Paris, and suddenly he's unsellable. It's just weird. Really weird. It's a very weird season. And, you know, the last team I wanted to lose against was these lot. You know, if it's not Sunderland, excuse me, if it's not Sunderland, I want to beat these fuckers, because especially after the summer, they're absolutely grotesque. But Newcastle comfortably beaten by a Liverpool team in second gear, really. So let's get into your comments, guys, before I cough a lung up. Vincent saying Wisser came on, he was a ghost. But IDK, if I can blame the lads that came on when the subs came so late, were basically pointless. Yeah, absolutely. Steve said, De Zerbi's available, anyone? Yeah, well, the how questions will get louder with performances like that. Chippers are saying 1 goal in 3 league games. Shocking. Yep. Leo says loves the swearing videos. That's one thing I won't change, mate. That's how I roll. I know I've had a few little Ned Flanders in the comments in the past. Most people don't really give a shit, to be fair, but some people seem to. We say in the description, it's not for kids. Don't sit and watch it with your kids. And listen, I've got kids. Kids know more swear words than I do, so fucking get over yourself. Fucking shite. Good night. You're a poet and you don't know it. Maybe you do know it, Patricia. Thank you very much for the comments, Bonnie lad. Paul says death, taxes, and losing at Anfield. Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful horseshoe. Love that. 4-1. I'm sick of this. We didn't deserve that. And the rat laughing made it worse. Yeah, it did piss me off as well. That really did. I said in the preview, I was kind of 50-50 on, I wish he was playing so someone could go through him. But if he had played, he probably would have scored 1 or 2. And that would be even worse, wouldn't it? Phil saying furious with their third. Everyone could see midfield was fucked once again. Waits until it's too late till he freshens up. Yeah, I mean, most of them players played in Paris, man. They were playing on fumes. Yeah, Kiwi Toon, that was your comment from earlier, smirking from the rat. Wayne says, I'm more concerned we wasted 130 million on 2 strikers. I'm concerned. I think Nick Voltemada, I think, is a really good player. I was watching like a little montage of clips of Dimitar Berbatov's goals for Spurs. And I love Berbatov as a player, you know, real quality, you know, silky touches, skill, just a real graceful footballer. And I was watching this movement, and I thought to myself, I see a lot of Nick Voltemada there. I really do. But we just don't play to the lad's strengths, you know. Berbatov was dropping deep, playing 1-2s, and, you know, and then there was another 2 or 3 passes to give him enough time to get into the box, and then he would finish. We just don't play to Voltemada's strengths. And that's on the manager, that, and the coaching staff. They need to figure out a way to do that. But I do think Voltemada will turn good. But Visser, I think that knee injury may have lost him a couple of yards, and without his pace, what is he? Graham says up to 40 minutes, we were in control. They did everything to disturb the dynamic, and then they exploded. That's what quality does. We clearly bought Paul in the summer. Tough watch that. That's the thing, Graham, isn't it? You know, matches like that are won by quality players. They're not won by athletes that can run and jump and are big and strong. They're won by technical little players like Florian Wirtz, who can jink inside and out and find a centre forward. They're won by centre forwards who can make those runs, you know, that quick 10-yard movement. That's what they're won by. And that's something that Howe's overlooked over the last couple of years, I think. Isak aside, he's really overlooked that type of player, you know. And I'm not saying him in particular, because I know he's not pulled up any trees at Spurs, but somebody like a Maddison type player for us, you know, in behind a striker would unlock us so much. That number 10, that quality attacking player that we should have signed. I know we did actually try to go for Maddison, and we couldn't actually get him in the end. And we got Barnes instead, I think. But for me, and Barnes has been great for us, to be fair. But for me, we need a player like that. We really, really do. Derek says, we change the formation when we get a result. He goes back to the same, I guess. What another defeat. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that, mate. Vincent embarrassing result again, embarrassing against Man U away, and Macam's away. Yeah, it's just nothing there, is there really? Phil says, shy Chris, Flash finally scored whoop-de-whoop, but they scored 4, and they've been terrible this season. Once we scored, we just parked the bus to open the game up and we exposed. But it's so weird, right? Because as Graham said there before, we kind of controlled it for like 40 minutes, and then we just drop off the face of the earth again. You know, and the problem is now the fan base will be bickering with each other on social media. I don't really bother on X anymore. I'd be better off just going and find a random pub and just shouting something, and I'd probably have a better conversation, to be fair. But the fan base will just be shouting and bawling each other over this, you know, the Eddie Howe lovers, you know, and then the Eddie Howe doubters, you know, and just everyone starts attacking each other. It's so fucking exhausting. I can't be bothered, you know. Jim is just saying we won't get top 10 this rate, leaking goals for fun and barely scoring. I don't think we're going to get, certainly not going to get top 5 chippers, maybe top 10 at the push. But something's got to change. Freshness of squad would be one of them. Steve's with you. No way we get top 10. Dazzler says also predictable. Craig says Howe and Tyndall don't know what they're doing. Thanks for the memories. But we ain't going backwards. Absolutely. A super chat in from RG Fox. Thank you very much for that, bud. Whether we like it or not, we're nowhere near as good as those fuckers. No, we're not. They've had an iffy season. But we are not as good as them, to be fair. Not when they click, and they barely clicked today. But they clicked enough when it mattered. Looney Tunes, average Liverpool team, we made them look amazing. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, Derek says it's a sackable form for me. Oh dear. Dazzle says, I think you said it before, Chris. Takes us 2 years to rectify the disaster transfer window. Yeah, it certainly does. Jono says we will only ever thread water with Pope in the goal. Yeah. That needs to be changed as well. The real bearded monster, great first half, spoiled by individual errors. Second half was dreadful. No in-game management from Howe, subs on too late. It's fucking Groundhog Day, mate, but you're bang on. Toonbird, hard to watch that with a Scouser. You had to watch that with a Scouser. Oh, God. Fucking hell. It's a good job Isak wasn't playing. You would have had to listen and go, Isak. He shouldn't have signed for them just for that reason, really, the way they say his voice. Sounds like they're coughing up phlegm like me with a cold. But God bless you. You deserve a medal for that. Hat-trick here. Super chat. Thanks, buddy. Imagine we weren't so stubborn in the summer and signed Ekatike. Only positive today is Isak broken leg, so we couldn't see the smug rat's face. We saw enough of him on the sideline, but yeah, you're right. I don't think Ekatike ever really wanted to come. I think somebody said that in the comments as well. Excuse me. I was a bit skeptical and went back in from after the whole debacle last time. You know, I was excited when I thought we were going to get him, you know, and there'll be videos of me doing that. But he is a bit of a fucking knob, and he thinks as soon as a bigger club comes in, he wants away, or he doesn't want to deal with you anymore. You know, if Liverpool hadn't come in for him, we would have got him. But maybe what we should have done is realised that Isak wanted to leave. right? Stop fucking around. Stop trying to convince him to stay. Maybe it was Eddie Howe's ego thinking he could do that. And just say, right, fine, you guys can have Alexander Isak. You back out of the Ekatike deal and we'll have him. And if we did that, maybe Ekatike would have been in a black and white shirt. You never know. Frank says, I'm surprised teams aren't sniffing around Hall right now. They probably are, mate. They probably are. We need to tie him down a new contract. Anonymous, how wasn't Miley playing tonight? My only thought process is, Anonymous, is that he thinks he's got a chance at the Etihad. That's crazy, isn't it? That's like your mate with, receding hairline, fucking missing 2 front teeth, it stinks of shit. I think he's got a chance with Margot Robbie when he sees her at the bar. That's how I feel about the City game. That's how far I feel that game has gone from us. I really do. I'd love to be wrong. But I really don't think we've got a chance at City. So if Eddie Howe thinks Lewis Miley's going to suddenly turn into prime Gerrard and win us that game on his own, okay. I'll remain to see that. And I love Lewis Miley, but don't think that's going to happen. Daniel's saying one of those games, I don't think we played bad. No, I didn't think either, mate, to be fair. But played a basketball-style game. You need to be scoring more than one. Botman dropped like a sack of shit against it. Apparently that was a fitness thing, which concerns me because we know what Botman's made of, which is flumps. And it worries me that he's injured again or he's nursing something. Xander, surprised you've not managed Howe's awful in-game management. You guys do it for me, mate. I don't even need to get there. It is awful in-game management. The minute Liverpool certainly went 2-1 up, I think he could have made changes at half-time. I think he could have put a focal point up front. I'd have put Voltemada up front, not Visser. I'd have probably hooked out of the two of them. I probably would have hooked Barnes maybe and played Langer on the right and Gordon on the left and Nick through the middle and just tried that for a bit and seen if that would have done anything. But he just doesn't do that. He's just such a, overcautious manager, isn't he? He's like a risk assessment manager, fucking PE teacher sometimes. Just winds me up. Omar saying, superb channel. Thank you, mate. Love the club. Ekatike was a difference. Worst number 9 I've ever seen. He's absolutely shit. He's wrote him off already. Thank you for the nice words for me, though, mate, and the channel. 16 points drop from winning positions. We're talented, aren't we? Yes. But the Kool-Aid drinkers won't let you say that. James Birch saying, have to blame the management. Everyone could see we were struggling, especially in the early part of the second half. But as usual, changes are made once the game is gone. Yeah, because there's nothing to lose then, is there? When we're already 3-1 down, we ain't getting back in that game. And he makes those changes too late because he's a bit cowardly at times, Sensible says, great start despite a weird choice of players. The Mr. Shit game management sat in his hands when everybody knew a change was required. Bottler, he just doesn't do it. Somebody mentioned De Zerbi before in the chat. If you go back and watch that Marseille game, we are beating them. We are massively in control of that game. And you watch De Zerbi analyze that game, look around the pitch, and then he makes the changes. And when he makes the changes, they turn the screw and they win the game. That's what managers do. That's what managers do to win games and change games. Unai Emery did it as well a few weeks ago. Eddie Howe doesn't do it, but because he won that cup last season, he's got a force field over him. You can't criticize him, apparently. I even seen Newcastle content creators pipping and piping at each other, man, the other day. What the fuck is going on, man? Honestly, I'm going to talk about it on what's going on Monday night, but just fucking, honestly, have a word with yourself, lads, man. Really? Fucking hell. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. Leon said we did deserve that. Sadly, scorelines rarely lie. Yeah, I see what you're saying, mate. I just didn't feel like a 4-1 game for me. So then Jody's saying, we're the team version of Adama Traore. Baby arms. He had a right wobbler, didn't he? We'll talk about that in Moscow as well. He had a right wobbler today, did old Adama Traore. Mind you, Cucurella, I think I'd just fucking half of me. Like, I wouldn't even bother with a shoving contest. I just snapped the little shower pube fucking twat that he is because I can't bear him. Ian says, FFP is the problem. Liverpool spent £450 million in the summer. It's bollocks. That's very true. Alex Murphy got on it last. Says Snake. He did. Did all right, actually, in a brief cameo. Little header to clear the danger. I thought he did all right. Looney Tunes says he gambled on that game for a cup game. We are 2-0 down, and if we lose that, which we will, he should go. Wow. People are making their minds up already. Guess after 8 minutes, Eddie saving Hall for Man City. You know, what the fuck was that sum about, man? I mean, Lewis Hall was brilliant tonight. But honestly, man, just weird substitution, that. Really weird. Matthew says, hey, all, I had to shut that game off. Terrible to lose to that lot. I know it is. It's just fucking grim, isn't it? Absolutely grim losing against them. Chip on the shoulder bastards. George is in the house. Whenever we mount an attack, you can see a mile off what we're trying to do and soaking the opposition predictable and manageable, making it nice and comfortable for them. Yeah, you're absolutely right, George. I mean, we can see it, so surely someone like a Slot can see it. Technical teams always get the better of us as Wayne. Yeah, because we don't have any technical players, Wayne. We don't have any technical players to play, to find those gaps, you know, when you need them, when things are tight. And Liverpool left gaps tonight. You know, a more technically gifted player could have threaded a ball through to Anthony Gordon, who was lively tonight, was making some good runs. And I think Gordon could have got on the end of something, or Barnes could have got on the end of something, certainly in that first half. But very seldom do we have a player in the middle of the park who could do that. Very seldom. Robert says we made teams look better than they are. Yeah, absolutely, mate. That's all season as well. All season. This is the thing, man. People get attacked, right? Excuse me. I'm fighting through this cold, guys. Hopefully I'm doing all right for you. Give us a like if you can. Help the channel grow as well. 500 odd a year in the chat. So I'm struggling on with my man flu to get this out for you. But without anybody in that midfield, without Bruno Guimaraes to get his foot on the ball and make something happen, without even Lewis Miley to try and, you know, knock a few passes around as well. Ramsey was busy. He was kind of industrious. You know, Tonali I thought was much better tonight as well. Like, he was box to box. He made a lot of good challenges. You know, won the ball back. His passing's still a little bit off, but you know, his energy's there. But there's nobody just to make that little cutting edge difference. And I think if we had that player tonight, I think we do something. I think we do something in that game, but we didn't, and we don't have them. You know, and there's nobody on the bench even to change it. You know, which is mental. AFC says big up Ekatike and Soboslai been carrying Liverpool. I don't disagree with that, mate. I think they have massively. Yeah, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that, buddy. I will get well soon, mate. I will get well soon. I was on Sky earlier today, and I was trying my best not to cough all the way through. I had quite short answers for them this time, just because I didn't want to cough my fucking lungs out, but I managed to get through. And I didn't swear either, because I don't swear on television. I use my posh television voice and don't swear. Daz is saying the same stadiums every season. We lose. It's supposed to be one of the top teams. Yeah, you're right, mate. You're absolutely right. Give Leo a shot at right back, says Robbo. Yeah, why not? Why not? I'd have brought him on when we were 3-1 down. Give him a shot. Give him his debut at Anfield. He did that with Lewis Miley. Did that with Sean Longstaff. Rafa did, didn't he? Let him get on with it. Let him have a run about. You know, he might put in a nice tackle. He might get down the line and cross the ball. You might even get a shot off. You never know. You know, but I just think he just doesn't. I don't know, he just doesn't want to play the kids, does he? Doesn't want to play the kids. Zafiri Reload says, do you think the owners are waiting for Mourinho? Interesting. See, now, I always say never, ever, ever write off Jose Mourinho. Look what happened to Real Madrid in the Champions League. Never write off Jose Mourinho. All these people that say he's finished and he's done and all that, the man's a proven winner. Now, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with Eddie Howe. I don't think he'll go before the end of the season, guys. I've said that. I'll double down. He's not going to go before the end of the season. I can't see the club letting them go before the end of the season. But I think he will go in the summer. I think he will go because we won't get Champions League football. And I think that'll affect our recruitment. That'll affect our retention of players. And depending on who's coming in, that might make some of those players want to stay and play for that manager. And that's when you do need a name. You do need a draw. And whether it is Jose Mourinho, whether it is a Conte or somebody like that, or a Nagelsmann or an Alonso, which I think will probably end up at Liverpool, to be fair, despite them beating us 4-1. You need a name to convince a Tonali to give it another year, or Hall to stay, or Tino to stay. You know, you need that kind of big name manager. And I think Newcastle may do that in the summer. But the thing about Mourinho is he wants that cash. He wants that money. So if you are going to get Mourinho in, you got to spend the money. You can't give him all his PSR bollocks. Not interested at all. Vince said, what did I make of Gordon not celebrating, Chris? I think it was more of a, who's talking now type thing. You see in the picture. So I don't think he didn't celebrate. I think he just kind of tried to keep it low. I did think he was going to lose his head a little bit at one point. I was thinking, fucking hell. But yeah, I thought he did all right going tonight, to be fair. Phil says, most expensive bench we've ever had. None of them are making a fucking difference. It is worrying. It is really worrying. I just wonder, have they given up on his tactics? You know, do they not believe in what he wants them to do anymore? You know, answers on a postcard. Honestly, I just don't understand, you know, what's going on. Marcus has played the kids. I'd play the kids against City, mate. I'd feel the youth team and I'd just go at them with just energy, no fear, a total surprise factor, you know, and just run at them, just fucking go at them. You never know. You know, we went to City before with kids and beat them. Granted, it wasn't this City, but we still did it. Any pressure being put on Howe, says Aaron. There's got to be pressure put on Eddie Howe. If he hasn't got pressure, then, you know, what's the point, you know? But the media won't put it on him because the press love him. Absolutely love him. And I understand why, because he's charming, he's articulate, and he's intelligent. He's a shite sight of an improvement to the fucking jokers we had year after year after year. So a lot of those press pack would never have seen a manager like this, and they'd be quite overawed by him, I think. But that spark or that magic it's definitely waned over the last year and a half or 2 years of his 4-year spell at the club. I certainly don't feel as charmed by Eddie Howe anymore than I used to. I think he still speaks really well in press conferences, but a lot of it's now just like David Brent-esque waffle. You know what I mean? Like, I could almost predict what he's going to say, you know? After this game, I've not seen him talking yet, but he'd probably say things like, you know, I thought we were excellent in the first half, thought we controlled the game. You know, I don't like that third goal. That's not really us this season. Well, it is, because we've conceded loads of goals like that, you know, or we weren't quite at our best levels. You know, the game on Wednesday took it out of us. Why have you played? So many players have played on Wednesday then. Why haven't you rotated again? Just weird, man. Absolutely weird. George wants a bit of Mourinho. Certainly wants a bit of Mourinho. I wouldn't be against it. I absolutely would not be against it. I think Jose Mourinho would win for Newcastle. I think he would be a winner. And I don't think he would put up with that shit. Tuchel, says Stuart. Yeah, it could be a job swap, mate. Could be a job swap. Stephen saying, how out, Chris? Surely Jose in. He'd absolutely jump at the chance. Bobby's house, one last shot at the Prem. I think he would. I think he would come back to the Premier League for that. But I don't think he will come back and finish this season, Marcus. No. I don't think the wheels have come off that much for the club to make that change. I think if we were properly fucked and right down in the doldrums, then I think he would. But I just don't think that they'll bring him in. I mean, let's get it right. Where are the fucking PIF? Where are they? You know, it's like Delia. Where are you? Let's be having you. But where are they? When was the last time you heard from them or seen them? Or, you know, last time they did anything of note, you know, for this football club? You know, we've had, you know, director of football coming in and out of a revolving door. This new CEO with his 100-point plan, you know, and then he's saying he wants to win the Champions League or the league in 5 years. Same shit man Staveley said. Then he's on the stage with Pot of the Tyne and all that shit. And, you know, just seems to be the same fucking bollocks happening over and over again. Throw money at turkey teeth, says Marcus. I don't think he'll come back to England and manage anybody, mate. I think he's got that Liverpool loving, isn't he? But money talks and bullshit walks. From what I'm reading, I think turkey teeth may end up in the Real Madrid job. Which I think he'll take. Yeah, you're right. Jose's got lots of respect for the tune. Great content from the Geordie Journal lads, actually, when we played Benfica. And they were really charmed and kind of overawed by just the charisma of Jose Mourinho. Some brilliant content. I love the lads' content anyway. That they're all great. You know, Liam, Dom and Jordan, they're really good. I'm sure you guys do watch them. We've got mutual viewers, but the Geordie Journals are good. I like the Geordie Journals. And they were saying about Jose, they could see him being here one day. And I actually think in terms of, you know, name and lights, prestige, reputation, Jose Mourinho is the biggest name we could get as a manager of this football club in terms of names. I think he's the biggest one out there that would walk to St James's Park for this job. I really do believe that. PAG says there should be pressure on Howe, but we really shouldn't be talking about sacking him. I don't think sacking him is going to happen now, but I don't think there's anything wrong with saying if he did, then who would you replace him with? Chris says Howe does speak well, but in reality he says nout. Certainly nothing new. I'm losing patience. I used to work with a kid like this, right? And we used to, because I work in sales, that's why I look older than I actually am. Very stressful, very unenjoyable job at times for anybody who works in sales can relate to me on that. And we had this system that told you everything you sold by product, who it went to, how much you sold, how it deviated from last month or last year's sales, right? It was all at your fingertips, right? We could all look at it. We all looked at it every day, twice, thrice, 5 times a day. And there was one lad who stood there in a presentation every meeting and just regurgitated the shit that was already on your computers. And he spoke for 20 minutes and said, nout. That's what he did, Chris, nout. And that's exactly what Eddie Howe does. I agree with you on that, mate. I'm bored of it. I'm really, really fucking bored of it. As Mandy says, FA Cup is our best chance of winning something or getting into Europe. We got Villa away in the 3rd round, unless a miracle at the Etihad or an even bigger miracle, we win the Champions League. That's probably the most likely of the 3, I think, is winning the Champions League when you look at the route to the final and the way we're playing the Champions League compared to the Premier League. Yeah, again, Howe speaks well, says Phil. Doesn't ruffle any feathers, but sometimes, like our manager, to call a spade and accept accountability. I'd like him to say, listen, I'm disappointed by that goal. That's not the way we play. I set my team up to be much better than that. I don't know what they're doing, and that's what I want, but he just doesn't do that, does he? M3 Buck says, if Louis Miley had started right back, we wouldn't have conceded the first 2 goals. As Big Al always said, it's wonderful. We get paid for kicking a ball on some grass. Yeah, we need to sign somebody. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point, Jason. There's no excitement anymore. There's not, is there? I'm bored. That makes me sound like a really entitled fan, but I'm bored of this. I'm so bored of this. It's just nothingness, isn't it? It's like a void, a football void. You go 1 goal up and then you just stop playing and you get beat 4-1 by a pretty rank average Liverpool side by their standards. Pooley Mags would love Mourinho as well. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of love for Mourinho because of everything that he's done, John says, yeah, we're going backwards under Howe. I think this noise is growing. As I say, I'll talk about this more on what's going on Monday night, but I saw a couple of content creators. One was picking the other one up for talking about, I think, Michael Carrick. You'll know who I'm talking about. Saying how he saw more tactical innovation in 2 games than he's seen from Howe in 4 years. But that's frustration of a fan talking there. It's frustration, and I get it, and I relate to the fan who said it. I relate to him. I understand the other fan wanting to talk about everything that Howe's done in the 4 years, but you're missing the point. That lad's frustrated what he's seeing all season, and even going into the last season after we won the cup, we dropped off the face of the planet. And it's that whole Howe in and Howe out divide, the happy clappers and the skeptics, you know what I mean? But we're all Newcastle fans at the end of the day, and we all want Newcastle to do something, but don't need to start turning on each other, guys. I don't like that as a fan base. We're better than that. We're bigger and better than that. We should be anyway. Drico saying, firmly Eddie Howe out now, same shite, different week. I mean, the Premier League is just a write-off, isn't it? An absolute write-off. Magpie says, Chris, if we finish in the bottom half, I think there will be a big reaction from the fans. Maybe there will. There'll be a lot of fans who are saying, well, I've been fucking telling you, and you've been calling us this, and you've been calling us names, and you've been doing content about me being negative and all that. But, it might happen. Perth Mag, he got up at 3:30 a.m. to watch that. He's going back to bed. Oh, Perth Mag. I feel your pain, brother. I hope you're not ill as well, because I'm annoyed, right? And it's like 11:15 here in the UK, and I'm annoyed, mate. So fuck me, 3:30 in the morning. That's dedication, mate. Love our worldwide fans who got that dedication, mate. Absolutely superb. Tim says Eddie needs backing, as there's far to do. Quality to come in that team. City can spunk up when short. He was back though, Tim, in the summer. He spent 200 million quid on Alanga, who's been shit. Nick Voltamada who's a good player, but he's not setting up to his strengths. Visser, who we probably overpaid for at least 25 million for, who then blew his fucking knee out. Malik Chow, who's probably been the best of the bunch. And Jacob Ramsey, again, who's been pretty poor. So he was backed and he spent money on his long-term targets that neither one of them, bar Chow, have really enhanced the starting 11, mate. I just, you can't absolve them of all fault. I know you're not doing that, Tim, but you can't absolve them of all fault. He has to be held accountable for, for some blame. He can't just, skate through with no blame being apportioned to him. He's got to get these players working. He's got to figure out a way to play to Nick Volmada's strengths. He's got to figure out a way, to stop the goals that we're conceding. But he keeps playing players way beyond their prime. We're keeping players too long. We don't sell players. Everyone says, oh, how come we're not doing what Villa's doing, Chris? Because Villa sell players, man. Villa trade players. They sold Douglas Luiz. They sold Diaby. They sold John Duran. I've got to slow down there because I know a guy who's got a similar name and I always say it the wrong way around. But they sold big players, man. Sold Jack Grealish for 100 million and rebuilt the whole team. We sold Alexander Isak for 125 million and blew the money on players who aren't good enough to take us to the next level. We bought squad players, not starters, and that's on the manager. He's done that. He's got to take responsibility for that. Phil from Canada, I think the level of game management has reached a level of incompetence. Don't disagree with that at all. Droffy says, Howe is starting to look and sound like Starmer. Oh, God. Let's keep that out of it, mate. Bloody hell. Paul saying, can anyone do a worse job than Howe? Maybe the guy you just mentioned. He's fucking wank. Yes. People are getting a little bit annoyed, I think, with Eddie Howe. Marcus says, Dom at the Georgia knows he's the best to ask how much we get paid through the use. Yeah, he's very good. He knows his onions as Dom, doesn't he, to be fair? He's the only one I haven't met, actually, out of three of them. I met the other two lads. Nice lads as well. Good lads. But I'm sure Dom is as well. I do like what they do. Good lads. Scroll down, check a few more comments, guys. Give me a breather from being ill. Dean is saying inconsistently inconsistent. That is us. That is us, mate. John says he's bored too. It's hard to get mad when you know what's coming in most games. I mean, let's get it right. Let's have a show of hands. 580 odd of you in the chat, right? Let's have a show of hands. Who thinks we're actually going to win on Wednesday? Who thinks we're going to beat Man City 3-0 at the Etihad to go through to the Carabao Cup final? Show of hands. Let me know in the comments there. Are we actually going to do that? I don't think so. Simon says, totally agree. NUFC are boring to watch. They are. They really, really are. Not in the Champions League, though. Super chat from Drico. Thank you very much. Firmly out now. Same shite, different week. Yep. There's a lot more people are doing that, I think. I mean, we're going to cover the transfer window on what's going on. And the arrogance and the naivety to think that we can go through this window with no squad additions is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And if the manager and the sporting director do that, we've only got ourselves to blame when we miss out in Europe at the end of the season. We really do. And I think we will. I generally think we will. James is saying, you see, replying to somebody there, give another season with a different manager. Oh, with Eddie, it must be a player you're talking about there. Is that Alanga, possibly? Possibly Alanga? Sorry, guys, I just pulled that up there. Half asleep and full of cold. Yeah. Out of the Carabao Cup. This is no life is green. Totally agree with that. Apathy is our identity, says George. Yes, I completely agree with that. Gas as well said, Chris, mate, couldn't have said it any better. Yeah, thank you very much, bud. It brings me down to say it, though, mate. It brings me down to say it because, I don't want to be talking about Newcastle like this. I don't want to feel bored or, antagonized or deflated watching the football team. I want to just see that we're trying. And if you go back and look at that team we were before Eddie Howe came in, and going back to the point about the two, content creators having a little bicker, that, the other guy's right. He changed the way we played, made us intense, made us fitter, made us stronger, made us more aggressive. But that team has disappeared, man. That team is not there anymore. And one of the reasons it isn't there is because he's kept a hold of the same players who are 4 years younger, who can't do that job anymore. And you're asking something of a team that they're just not physically capable of doing anymore. And you need to move players on, thank them for what they've done. They never want for a pint in Newcastle. They'll be back here doing talkings. There'll be pundits on TNT and Sky. God knows they need them. Look at TNT. Fuck me, they couldn't find a Newcastle player to be a pundit tonight. But you got to rotate your squad, man. You got to freshen it up. Howe just doesn't do it. He's still making cups of tea with fucking stale milk. That's what he's doing. And then people wonder why it tastes like shit. And then people wonder why people complain it tastes like shit. There's a good analogy for you. Stale milk in the tea. That's Eddie Howe. Martin Mark with a super chat. Thanks, buddy. I decided to watch this instead of the Royal Rumble. Going to have to watch that tomorrow now. Would have been a lot more entertaining. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Hopefully the game, you mean, not me, mate, because hopefully I'm as entertaining as the Royal Rumble. I think the Royal Rumble was on. I used to watch the wrestling when I was younger. I used to work at a nightclub. And when I come back at like 2 a.m, it was like my Coronation Street because nothing else was on. But that was prime, like, Attitude Era, like Austin and Rock. And, remember when Stone Cold got ran over and they were all going, who knocked over Stone Cold? And then he come back and he was fucking chinning everybody. And that was box office, man. It was great. I couldn't watch it. That was probably all PC and shit. Probably not even allowed to hit each other with a fucking chair probably now, are they? Look me. Yeah, a few no's coming in. Yeah. We ain't beating City. Never. Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'm fully on board with you on that. So, right. I think we're going to wrap up now, guys, because we're pretty much done. And my voice is starting to flag. So thank you very much for everybody in the chat. Really appreciate that. We'll be back. I'm not sure we'll have an aftermath. I may struggle to do that unless I wake up and feel so much better in the morning. And then if I do, I will. But if not, we will be back for the preview for the Man City game and then back behind. Well, we'll be back for what's going on Monday night, even what we're doing. I'm really glossed by that. What's going on Monday night? Remember to like and subscribe. We'll be back for the post-match on Wednesday for City. There'll be a preview in between. I'm off to have an early night and hopefully feel better in the morning. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are. I'll see you later. Cheers.
Celebrate. They have done it.